I think he's been sitting in that green room long enough. Oh, Tori is kicking us off.
There is nobody better dressed than Jonathan Babineau. Those guys are some dudes we drafted, huh?
What's up, Falcons fans, and welcome back to the Friday Five. I'm your host, Will McFadden, joined as always by Tori McElhaney, and we have a very special guest joining us in studio today, Dave Archer.
Well, it's very special for me to hang out with you two. I see you guys on AtlantaFalcons.com all the time, so I'm lucky to be here.
Well, vice versa, man. Like this, it's always a pleasure anytime you come in. We get to pick your brain, but now we get to compete against you.
Nice. I love it. Let's competition. I love it.
So today we are going to be doing the Falcons 21st Century Draft Picks Draft, which we will get into the details of in just a second. But next week is the actual draft. It's the actual event. And we've got an incredible lineup of content to get you guys ready and carry you throughout draft weekend. First up will be Dave and Rack and Shock on Falcons Audible coming out on Monday. Then we've got our final predictions episode where you'll hear from the three of us as well as others on just who we think the Falcons will be taking at pick 48. And then after each night of the draft, we will kind of recap what's happened, talk about the best players available, talk about any moves that the Falcons made, and just kind of reflect on what it means for the Falcons. So that is what we've got kind of coming down the pipe for you all. But coming up right now is an event or kind of a topic that I'm really, really excited about because I think the format's going to be cool. We're going to go around. We're each going to make our picks for the Atlanta Falcons and the players that they have drafted in rounds 1 through 7 in the last 25 years. So a lot of players are available on the board. They do have to have been drafted by the Falcons. So Michael Turner, unfortunately, not available. Tony Gonzalez, not available. Yeah. None of those guys. But pretty much anybody who had their name called by Atlanta is available. We will be going in snake draft fashion. So if you had the third pick in round 1, you're going to be kicking off round 2, and we're going to be turning the corner right there. We've all been prepping a lot for this. Tori, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I have a lot of contingency plans. So, and to answer the question, we don't have to pick based on what round, right?
You can go in any order.
That's a big thing because I was going through the research and there are some slim pickings in certain rounds of the draft. And so there is a lot of strategic value in how you go about picking. But I think I have enough options that I'll feel good regardless coming out of this.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, in my Excel doc, it's like you only have to have technically 3 players listed for each round, but some rounds I'm like, man, there's 11 guys here. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm kind of insane and just keep on listing them out.
Yeah.
Dave, what was your process?
Yeah, I did a top 5 in every category, and it became very difficult, as Tori said, to really locate those guys that were impactful. Now, for me, I'm going to have to kind of flush the emotion piece out of it because I've called virtually every one of these guys' games all the way back. I started in 2003, so there's a good chance that the guys we're picking, I called their games throughout their career here as an Atlanta Falcon, and some of them weren't necessarily the greatest draft pick, but they had that little something that they added to special teams or whatever it was that kind of was near and dear to my heart. So I got to flush that out. I got to get rid of that. I got to make sure that I'm drafting based on some of the merits and things they brought to the table.
Well, I also have a strategy, too, of thinking their long-term careers, not necessarily solely what they were with the Atlanta Falcons. That was something that as I was going through this, I was like, okay, they maybe weren't in their 4 years with the Atlanta Falcons, maybe they weren't these big wigs or anything like that, but they went on to have these really, really good careers. Yeah. Some of these guys who I have on my board.
All right, so let me get some clarity on that.
Yeah, I was going to say that's on the rubric where it's weighted towards Falcons, tenor with the Falcons.
In my opinion, and again, my opinion means nothing here. I'm on you guys' podcast, but they had to have, in my thought process, was they had to have blossomed as a Falcon, and then they might have gone someplace else. Deion Sanders, for instance. Mm-hmm. Deion blossomed kind of here, but he didn't reach superstardom probably until he went out to the 49ers and then the Cowboys or whatever. So is that fair to say? Is that okay, what you're talking about?
Yeah, that you can draft any of these players, right? So it's not like they had to reach a set threshold in Atlanta so the bulk of their production could come somewhere else.
Right.
But we are at the end of this going to kind of put it out to our listeners to kind of share who they think built the best draft class. And so I do think it should be considered under the lens of kind of what they did here in Atlanta, first and foremost. But again, there are no set rules for this.
No.
This is not going to be a test that's graded.
I was about to say, no one
Tori,
told me.
No one.
I'm trying to worry Tori.
Yeah.
I'm
She
trying
wants
to
to
get her a
draft Brett
second
Favre?
guess or something.
Right, yeah.
Go for it,
Yeah.
by all means.
No, I'm not going to draft Brett Favre. Don't worry. He's not on my
Wow,
board.
that was my first pick.
I know, right? Yeah.
Do either of y'all have a specific draft before we get things kicked off that just stands out in your memory when you think, all right, it's draft season, it's draft time? I always go back to this year when I think of a Falcons draft.
It's hard not for me, Tori, to go back to 2008 and look at that draft when you talk about, you got arguably the greatest player that's ever played, not arguably, the greatest player that's ever played in the franchise in Matt Ryan, who I think is a Hall of Fame player, not just because he's the president of football, do you think that, but, you look at Curtis Lofton, who played really well at linebacker. You look at Harry Douglas, who came in here and did a lot of really good things at the wide receiver spot, and down through that draft, there were guys that were impactful. So that one kind of sticks out, maybe more so because of Matt, but there were ancillary pieces there that paid a lot of dividends.
Yeah, I think just kind of like looking through this, I agree with the 2008 one. I also think that a sneaky good draft that not a lot of people talk about is 2016 with Keanu Neal, Deion Jones, Austin Hooper, Devondre Campbell. Like, you got a lot of like value from those guys, and I think that you got a good of the how many picks did they have? 6 picks. Like, you got 4 really good starters, and honestly, Wes Schweitzer, yeah, he was also a part of that draft class. I mean, he had 90 games that he played in. So over the course,
a little too many penalties from Wes.
We're
gonna try.
You said it on me.
Trying to be honest here. No, I agree with you in that draft. That was the 16 draft was a team that ultimately went to the Super Bowl. And you start thinking about that team had 4 rookies start on that team. So
and Brian Poole, undrafted, right?
Yeah, undrafted.
He was another big part of that.
He was our nickel guy that started at the nickel spot for us. So I agree with you, Tori. That's a really good draft. Good call.
Yeah.
What about you?
I mean, it's hard for me not to say 01 just because Algie Crumpler, Mike Vick, kind of like defined a lot of my childhood.
Yeah.
Especially Algie. Like everybody will say Mike Vick, but Algie was a good one.
Crump was a heck of a player, no question about it. And he was a leader on the team too, because I thought Michael, and I know we need to get to the draft here, but I thought Michael was that on the field kind of lead by example, make spectacular plays, and you kind of followed that. You kind of, kind of that Pied Piper you followed because he made so many plays. But as far as a true vocal leader and then showed up on the game day as well, Algie Crumpler was the guy. No question about it. That's a good call.
So that's one. 2018 also is another sneaky good one.
Good
just because of what you did in the later rounds, Russell Gage, Foye, those guys really kind of popped. So cool. Tori, do you want to, we don't know our draft order right now. I want that to be said. We're about to find out. Tori, do you want to do the honors and select your Falcon?
Yeah, I'll do the third one. If you're going left to right, that one. Yeah, right there. I hope people are seeing this.
Oh, Tori is kicking us off. She got the number 1
Let's
pick.
go.
Look at you.
Oh, I'm so excited about
Now,
it.
Just means she had the worst regular
I'm the
season.
guest here,
Right,
so you pick second.
Oh, okay. All right, let's go furthest left then. Hey, all right.
And of course, I end up in the slot, the 2 slot, which we are talking about pre to coming on here,
Art said
which
before we
never gives me the opportunity to pick the top guy, whatever slot. That's okay.
It's because you lacked conviction. You should have just said, I'm up next, and I'm going to take this Falcon away from you.
And that should happen. So I'm in the 2 slot. So I'm okay with that.
All right. So the first round is underway. Tori, you are on the clock.
Yeah, I'm going to... I think that I'm going to go with the 6th round, and my first pick is going to be Foye Oluokun.
Foye, all right.
That's a great selection.
My thought process behind this is I personally feel really good about like the breadth of choices that I have with the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. I don't feel as confident with the breadth of choices in like the the 6th and the 7th. And Foye is someone who I personally fell in love with as a player. I loved his journey. I loved watching him. I loved getting to know him. And so I think that when you talk about people who you have connections with, like Foye was somebody who, because of he came into the league, from Yale, a safety from Yale, and then he turns into this, he led the NFL in tackles in 2021. He went and signed a really great contract with the Jacksonville Jaguars, so has been doing some really good things. Honestly, I was looking up, and he really is one of the most productive linebackers kind of his era, and I think that obviously started with the Atlanta Falcons and what he turned into, I think, his final 2 years here as a full-blown starter, and also what he has done on special teams even during that time frame. I know the Falcons weren't, lighting up the league with defense during that time, but he was somebody who every time he was on the field, I saw so much value in.
Such a great pick. I mean, Foye Oluokun had 1,000. He's got over 1,000 tackles in his career. Almost 500 of those came as an Atlanta Falcon. As you mentioned, he led the league in tackles 2 consecutive seasons, both here in Atlanta. He's got 6 consecutive 100 tackle seasons. So that's a great pick. He played half his career so far, still playing.
Yeah.
But 4 of those years were here in Atlanta. So that's a great pick.
Thanks.
All right. So I'm in the number 2 hole.
You're number 2.
Okay, number 2 hole. I'm going to stay in the same round because, as Tori said, there's not a lot of depth, in my opinion, in that round.
Yeah.
And there were 2 guys that stuck out to me, but I'm going to take Russell Gage right here in the 6th round pick.
You guys are making my life hard in the 6th round now.
Russ had 387 receptions in his career. 336 of those came in Atlanta, and his best year was the COVID year when he had 72 catches or just under 900 yards. So you're talking about drafting essentially a 3rd receiver, also was an outstanding. He actually came here just like Foye did as a special teams maven. We talked about him at LSU, and he really didn't have a lot of catches at LSU in college, but he was an outstanding special teams guy. But as you began to plug him in and ultimately got a big deal to go to Tampa and ended up getting hurt down there after what he did here in Atlanta. So my pick is Russell Gage in the 6th round.
Yeah, that's really a really good pick, and I'm very surprised, though. Both people went 6th round right off the bat because I think there were a lot of permutations for how this draft could start. I'm sure a lot of people are sitting in their car or wherever they're listening to this kind of going, okay, that's not what I envisioned for the start of the 21st century draft picks draft. I've got 2 picks now on the turn, so let me go first. I'll go 1 round earlier. I'll go 5th round. I'll take Grady Jarrett.
Yep.
I'll go ahead and give me Grady. Take him right off the board. I think
not a bad one.
We obviously all know how important Grady was and kind of the start that he had on the scene with 3 sacks in the Super Bowl. What a coming out party, biggest possible stage. And then really just keeping that going the next season, picking right off and becoming the leader both on the field, off the field, in the community, everything that Grady did to kind of cement that interior and really define, I think, the types of defenses Atlanta was then kind of building around him as just a great pass rushing interior player. So I'm very happy to have Grady on my team.
And I think that all the things you talked about what he brought to the table on the field, but all 3 of us had the opportunity to be around him as a person.
Yep.
He's an incredible person, both in the public, everything that he did here from a community scenario and all the stuff he did there. But what he did in the building here from a leadership standpoint and establishing something, because he was part of that Super Bowl team just in his 2nd season, as you mentioned, the 3 sacks. But 152 games as an Atlanta Falcon. The thing that I loved about his on-the-field piece, Will, is you knew when you showed up at the building 99 out of 100 times Grady Jarrett's lining up for you.
Yep.
You weren't worrying about, you don't know about his knee or don't know his ankle. The dude was going to play, and I think that's something that's a big deal about him.
100%. All right, well, I've got another pick, and I think he's been sitting in that green room long enough. Give me Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? It's president of football, all right? I hope you're watching, Matt. I'm the true believer in you here amongst this group. But Arch, you remember, or you said you kind of remember that 2008 draft, right? I was 15, I think, when that happened. So
thanks for dating me.
I was going to say, I'm sorry for the stray that you're unintentionally about to catch. But there you go. Man, there was like just no more important person in my life pretty much for the next like 5 years than Matt Ryan. To be going into high school as like a freshman, given where they were in 2007, and you can kind of talk to that a little bit better maybe than I can, but just how important he was to the franchise to become what he became and really chart the next decade plus of Falcons football, when if you had asked anybody in the week leading up to that draft, what are the next 10 years going to look like for the Atlanta Falcons? I don't think anybody would have guessed what ended up happening. And I think number 2 deserves a ton of that credit. Oh,
there's no question about it. Everything, any accolade you can throw on Matt Ryan, he deserves it and then some.
Yep.
Think about coming in 2008. We had a horrible 2007 season. Obviously, the offseason was the scenario where Michael Vick got in trouble. Ultimately, we know what happened with him. So you're left essentially rudderless at the quarterback position. Had a couple of 3 or 4 different stopgaps that came in and tried to play. Ultimately had a horrendous season. Coaches jettisoned. You had an interim coach at the end of the year, Emmett Thomas, which he ended up doing it twice, I think. But here comes Mike Smith. And here comes Thomas Dimitroff, and what are they going to do to rebuild the organization? And there was a lot of conversation around the best defensive tackle in the draft was a guy named Glenn Dorsey at LSU.
That's who I actually wanted.
Yeah, well,
I guarantee you weren't the only one.
No, we were drafting number 3 in that draft, and you thought, okay, Dorsey's that guy. But Ryan, in all his interviews and all the things, you could see if you're looking for a franchise guy that's going to be the face of your franchise, that's going to be in front of the media, he was so savvy at 22, 23 years old. Yeah. I mean, it was a no-brainer ultimately to take Matt Ryan, and obviously the numbers would indicate what he did.
Yeah, I mean, Matty Ice is Matty Ice.
Yeah.
So I don't have any qualms. I think this is a great pick.
I just remember my first thought going from Michael Vick to Matt Ryan is that I was like, man, I think football is going to be boring now.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because like the most exciting years were yet to come, but I'm so glad that I was wrong about that. I was just like, we got a pocket passer. We don't have Michael Vick anymore. We got a scrimp, and Matt created some of the best memories of my childhood. Yeah. So thank you, Matt.
I was not a child, and he created a lot of great memories for me as well. So I'm with you on that. All right, so my selection, my second selection, not necessarily in the second round, but my second selection, and I've kind of been combing this over. Really good strategy there by Will, taking Grady Jarrett, who probably was number 1 on all our lists, maybe in the 5th round, and of course Matt Ryan, probably that number 1 of number ones. We've got kind of a wild card here.
Okay. I'm
gonna go to the 4th round right here, and I'm gonna take Devontae Freeman at number with that 2-time Pro Bowler, 1-time All-Pro. Rushed for almost 4,000 yards as a Falcon. We know his impact that he had in the Super Bowl season. He had 2 1,000-yard seasons, ran for 100 yards 8 times, but just was that guy that could catch the ball out of the backfield. I don't know how many times we put him in the slot and he caught the ball out of the backfield, and just was that guy that kind of anchored what was a running game that helped us get to a Super Bowl.
Love it.
Yeah.
I really love to...
By the way, he was a 4th round pick, so that's why.
Right, yeah, 4th round. Okay. I mean, 2-time Pro Bowler. Yeah. I think that in terms of where you're getting kind of like that position group, there are so many guys who have like 4th, 5th, 6th round grades who go on to be these like really, functional, formative pieces of some of these offenses that I really like.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. And Devontae was such a good. We all had a chance to interact with Devontae. Such a fun-loving guy. You almost called him a kid, the way he would kind of giggle and you talk to him and interview him. But, man, the dude could play, and he was another one of those kind of guys, a little bit like Grady in that he's carrying the ball those many times and touching the ball that many times. He lined up for you. He was there to play, so it was cool.
And he was a perfect fit in kind of that Kyle Shanahan outside zone
Absolutely. Good
scheme.
Call.
I do wonder, though, like a lot of this conversation, I think, could be how – a player's legacy continues to evolve moving forward, and I would be really curious in 10 years, like how many younger Falcons fans understand how good Devontae Freeman was, kind of his play style, things like that, because you go from obviously the guys who did it way back, William Andrews, Gerald Riggs, those guys, but Jamal Anderson, Warwick Dunn, and now Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, like he was really important and kind of carried that legacy through those years.
That's a good thought.
So yeah, let's not forget Devontae Freeman.
Our boy, we love him. All right, is it my turn?
Yes, ma'am.
It's your turn.
Okay, give me Julio. Give me Julio, 7-time Pro Bowler, 2-time first-team All-Pro, one of the most dynamic receivers in all of the game during his era, and maybe even still now. So I'm going to take Julio off the board. I was really I wanted to kind of wait a little bit longer personally to get my first round off the board, but the way things are falling, I feel like I need to get some star power.
Some bang for your buck.
Yeah,
So tell me, what do you think, Tori, will Julio, because his numbers are right on the edge of being, is he a Hall of Famer?
I think so.
So define for me Hall of Famer in your mind. What is a Hall of Famer?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think it varies by position.
Okay.
But I think that you have to be the best of the best at your position during the time that you played.
Okay, I agree with that.
And I think that that's what Julio was. And I think that you can say that's what Matt Ryan was too, even in kind of granted, Matt Ryan's career spans a bit like the peak of Matt Ryan's career spans a bit longer than I think the peak of Julio's career, but they did it together. So that also goes hand in hand a little bit. But I think there is an argument to be made that when you're looking at, I think quarterbacks are a completely different conversation when it comes to Hall of Fame than maybe some other positions. And with receiver, it's who was the best of the best during their peak times? And
I think
over years. I think you have to span years, too.
I think we get caught up so much in the numbers that, and Julio's numbers are outstanding.
Yeah.
13 seasons in the National Football League, 10 of those with Atlanta. Over 11,000 yards receiving. He's the all-time leading receiver in Falcon history. 7 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. I mean, you can go on and on. Had an outstanding in 11 postseason games. He had 77 catches for 8 yards less than 1,000, 992 yards and 7 touchdowns. So he showed up in the biggest moments as well. Of course, we remember the 300-yard game against Carolina during the regular season as well. But I'm glad the way you said that, because I think we get so caught up in all the numbers and stuff. Well, his numbers don't match Jerry Rice's, or his numbers don't match T.O.'s. Yeah, but was he the best when he was playing? And I think you said it. I think there's no question about that.
Yeah, I think when you talk about greatness and the Hall of Fame in particular, you start kind of granular, like on a single play. Was he one of the greatest? And I think Julio Jones has some of the greatest individual highlights that you'll see for any wide receiver. Put him up there against anybody, Antonio Brown, Megatron, any of those guys. Give me a Julio highlight any day of the week.
You got one that sticks out in your mind?
Oh, I like
one?
The was it Sunday night or Monday Night Football against Philly? Just that screenplay.
Oh, yeah.
Just for where it was.
Got the block by Jake.
Yeah, Jake did yeoman's work.
I think that won
play.
the game for us, didn't it?
Yeah, that's why it really, really stands out. I mean, the mossing in New England, even though that was kind of a crappy game in the fog, right? But just him ripping that ball away, you kind of...
It's my ball.
He spoke to everybody's frustration in that moment a little bit, I think. So on an individual play basis, absolutely. But then you zoom out a little bit further in a single game. Yeah. Could he just take over the game?
No question.
I would argue he's on the very, very short list with Randy Moss and, again, Calvin Johnson of wide receivers who just could take over the whole game.
You could almost argue that we didn't allow him to do it. That is not what we should have done. Mine, real quickly, on plays, and Wes Durham, my partner on radio, has an unbelievably great call, but his catch over Luke Kuechly when he's running the deep over route, and Julio goes, it's underthrown. Matt's rolling left and doesn't get enough on it, but he gets it out there enough to put Julio up to bat. Julio yanks the ball away from him and turns on, just hits the ground like a jackrabbit and is running towards the end zone, and then does the lean at the tape to win it.
So good.
That sends chills down my back thinking about it right now. But
I think Luke went on a podcast somewhere and talked about that being his welcome to the NFL moment and how it's the one that keeps him up at night.
And those are 2 Hall of Famers right there, right?
Exactly.
That was my phone lock screen for 5 years.
Yeah.
Was the picture of that. There's some amazing ones out there.
And I know we don't really want to revisit the Super Bowl and how that went down, but how about the catch in the Super Bowl?
That's the greatest.
Arguably the greatest catch of all time in the Super Bowl, right? But didn't work out for us. So
just got in memory hold, unfortunately.
All right, so what do you got?
Oh, is it my turn?
Yeah, Tori,
I'm back. Okay.
We're on the turn. Sorry.
So I went first round. I'm going all the way to the end.
I tried to distract her.
Right?
That's great.
I'm going all the way to the end to the 7th round. I'm going to do Keenan Forney.
Good pick. Good
Longtime starter.
Building in the trenches.
Longtime starter on a dominant offensive line. Key part of what the Falcons did, running the ball, including that Michael Vick era. And I think when you're looking at arguably the best 7th-round pick of the Falcons' 21st century, Mr. Forney is probably the best by a long shot.
Along that offensive line, the DVD group, Dunn, Vick, and Duckett were running the football there. But Keenan, 98 starts in his career, but 89 of those came with the Falcons. That's a great pick, Tori. Really good.
I was really kind of like, again, trying to find the best holistic value, and that was where I was like, okay, if I knew I was going to have back-to-back picks. So I knew I was going to go with Forney in this, but I knew that I couldn't do Foye and Forney and not have people would be listening and be like, what the heck is Tori doing? Yeah. So I had to throw in Julio.
I love it.
Don't relegate Julio to a 3rd-round pick.
Right, yeah. How dare I?
All right, Dave, back to you.
All right, so now we're going to get into some pretty deep rounds, I think.
Yeah.
And in all actuality, Tori just picked from a 7th round that is deeper than you think it is, but Keenan Forney probably the cream of the crop there. So nice pick, Tori, there.
Thanks.
I'm going to go. I am. I'm going to go to the 2nd round,
Okay.
and this one I think is a deep one.
Yeah.
It's got a guy that Will has already mentioned. I'm not going to go there, though. I'm going to go with Deion Jones,
Interesting.
the linebacker.
Okay.
Deion was a 2nd-round draft pick that year for us, and he had 700 tackles as a Falcon. He had 8.5 sacks. And the thing that I loved about Deion was he was one of those guys that was able to get the ball out. He had 13 interceptions in his career. 11 of those came in Atlanta, and 5 of those he returned for touchdowns. I think remember maybe his final play as a Falcon was it the interception of Jameis Winston. He returned at the end of the season for a touchdown.
Yes,
solidified the 30 for 30.
Yeah. There you go. That was his last game, but he had played 128 games, which tells you about his longevity. He bounced a couple other teams, but 85 of those games are in Atlanta. And he had 5 100 tackle seasons as a linebacker. All of those were with the Falcons. And my favorite Deion Jones play was when he knocked Cam Newton out at the goal line.
Yeah.
When Cam Newton was trying to get in the end zone, dropped the hammer on him just to send a message. So I'm going to go Deion Jones right there.
Deion Jones is one of those type of players that I feel like changed the way that we look at inside linebacker play.
Yeah, great call.
I think that when you look back to the time that he was drafted, obviously, everyone thinks about, not to pigeonhole guys, but for such a long time, the big, bad, have the neck brace linebacker was kind of the bread and butter of the league there in the 80s, 90s, even early 2000s. But then you start morphing into kind of what we think the modern inside linebacker is, which is speed, quickness, the ability to drop into coverage. And that was Deion Jones. I felt like he was kind of the prototype of the modern linebacker before that wave really picked up. So I really think that when I think about Deion Jones and the overall impact that maybe he even made on the linebacker position, not just what he meant to the Atlanta Falcons, I think that there is this argument to be made that he falls in line with some of these broader conversations about the trajectory of the inside linebacker position as a whole.
I think that's a great analogy. You look at Divine Diablo, that's who he is. Divine's a little bit bigger guy than Deion was, but the speed, the kind of the background of being a secondary guy and stuff like that moves to that second level, being able to run and hit. And it was the evolution of the offense, right? The offense has become a spread, horizontal game. And we're still trying to take vertical shots, but it's horizontal. Can I get enough people outflank you and create a punt return or something like that? When you got Deion Jones on the field, he'd go get it.
Yeah, it's more sideline to sideline than downhill. And I don't know if you have a Roquan Smith or a N'Kobe Dean without somebody like Deion Jones. And my favorite thing about him was just how much of a thorn he was in Drew Brees' side for the time that they overlapped here, because, boy, Drew Brees was a thorn in our side for a little while there.
Well, it's like one of those, Matt Ryan and Cam Jordan situations. There's always a counter punch to the punch. And that's what I think Deion was to Drew.
Yeah.
That. Yeah, you mentioned his 5 pick six. I think one of them was 2016 in New Orleans. That was a heck of a of a Monday night game. I think it was up against a presidential debate, so I don't think a lot of people watched that game, but it was actually like one of the greatest Monday night games. I feel like you get Falcons Saints, and it was always
he had the interception against Breeze in the end zone in the color rush game, right?
Yeah.
Right here in Atlanta.
Too.
That was cool too.
That was one of the loudest I think I've ever heard Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So great pick, Tori.
That was the Arch.
That was.
See,
I'm just getting lost.
Tori's just gotten so many good picks that we just kind of ran.
She just made such a great point about Dion that I was like, that was so prepared that you knew exactly why you were taking him. Great pick, Arch.
Well, I was kind of hoping for Dion, so when I didn't have that, I was like, all right, I'm going to get this in here.
So now I'm looking at what rounds do we not have any players off the board, because I think that even though it's deep, I think that I want to maybe take somebody on the top of a list here for me.
Okay.
But I'm torn between the two.
I know.
I'm trying to figure out like which one do I have, because I want to say one maybe was a better player on the field more consistently, but the other might hold a higher place in fans' hearts.
No, I agree with you.
But I'm going to go with Thomas Deku.
Okay.
The safety.
Okay.
Yeah. I in the third round, he was selected 2008, part of that draft class, and he and William Moore just really kind of formed one of the best kind of backfield in the secondary tandems. You had like Thunder of Lightning of their own sorts, right? To me, Thomas Deku was that true center fielder, really nice feel, really smart player, and William Moore would just take dudes' souls.
Back when you could still kind of do that, right? Yeah. It seemed like we were kind of evolving away from that type of safety like Willie Moe was. But yeah, Deku, I don't think he gets enough credit. It's pretty cool that you would take him because I don't think he gets enough credit for the ability to play center field. He was a true center field guy, long, could run. He tracked down so many balls in the back end. So pretty cool pick.
Yep. So wanted to get him on my team there. And now I've got one more pick.
Yeah, you got another.
I'm going to go in the second round.
Are you going to do your guy?
I don't think I'm going to.
He's not going to take his guy.
I don't think I'm going to take my guy.
That's crazy, Will.
I left him there for you, and he didn't take him.
I'm not going to take my guy. Instead, I'm going to take Jonathan Babineau.
Yeah.
Who is also just kind of like a favorite of mine.
I loved Babs.
He was kind of Grady before Grady.
He was, yeah.
And I'm really, really happy that he got to be part of that 2016 team to kind of as the culmination of his career, because he was so important on an evolving defensive line for Atlanta throughout his entire career. You kind of went from the Patrick Kearney, Brady Smith era in the early 2000s, and then he was kind of the man holding it down for like he had Rod Coleman and Ed Jasper, and those guys were in there trickling in and out, but Jonathan Babineau was just kind of the pure pass rushing interior lineman that you had, and then became an elder statesman in the clubhouse and really was able to kind of pass that torch forward to Grady. I think Jonathan Babineau is, again, a little bit of an underrated Falcon when you look at the grand scope of team history. But those who are around to watch him play every single Sunday, I think, have a lot of love for Jonathan Babineau. Yeah,
if you go back to the 2005 season when Babs was drafted, remember we had traded back into the first round. We got D'Angelo Hall in 2004, and we also got Michael Jenkins in 2004. So we didn't have a first round, much like we do this year. Didn't have a first round draft pick. So Babs was essentially our first pick that year, and he came in and played extremely well. Played his entire career, 185 games as an Atlanta Falcon. Only missed 7 games in 12 seasons as an Atlanta Falcon. So a guy you could count on. 27 sacks. Actually scored 2 touchdowns. He had 4 interceptions. Scored 2 touchdowns in his career. But what I'll say about Babs is I interviewed him a number of times post-game. There is nobody better dressed than Jonathan Babineau coming out of the locker. Oh, my goodness. The hats, the haberdashery. I mean, he was phenomenal.
The haberdashery.
Oh, he was phenomenal.
It's
the dude,
great.
and one of the great guys you'll ever be around. So good pick, Jonathan Babineau.
We got to chat offline about some of his best wardrobes. That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, we're back to you, Arch.
Back to me. Okay, you've already made your 2 picks. Great pick in Babs.
Just
love Babs.
Building up my defensive line over here.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go into the 3rd round. I think. I'm gonna go 3rd round here, and I'm gonna probably surprise you guys a little bit here, maybe. But I'm gonna take Xavier Watts With my third round selection.
Interesting.
X had 96 tackles last season and 5 interceptions. Finished third in the the Defensive Player of the Year balloting. Just had an outstanding year. Had 4 games. He had 9+ tackles. And he looks like potentially, and it's cool that he's playing alongside Jesse Bates, who we all love, and who's a phenomenal player. It looks like he's the younger version of Jesse Bates and his ability to go get the football, get the ball out, but his ability to range in the back end, but also the versatility to come down in the box. And how many times did we see him slide up and even cover the slot a few times a year ago? So I know he's a young dude, and we're talking about the history from 2000 to 2025. I'm going to take a dude we took last year in Xavier Watts.
Yeah, I love that. The team is in good hands moving forward is what you're saying. Yeah, there's a bit of projection here, but the start is undeniable, right? I mean, he played so well, and I totally agree. I think his instincts were one of the things that really stood out early in training camp to me last year was like he's got the speed, but he maximizes that by getting a great first step on the ball, which I think is something Jesse does really well, and it speaks to their preparation. Great pick.
What was y'all's because I actually didn't even put Xavier on.
He wasn't on my board.
Because I was kind of like, we're talking about, Falcons careers. But I guess if you're kind of sitting there saying like, I believe this is just the start of what could be a very long and lengthy and productive career. It makes a lot of sense.
Hope so.
We'll look at this draft board in 5 years and people will be like, Arch had it.
We'll be getting ready for the 2036 draft and we'll be pulling this back up.
Is it my turn?
It is.
Your turn.
Okay.
It is.
And I've got back-to-back.
So Tori's got the 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round, and 5th round left.
Yeah. Okay. I think I'm going to go 3rd round. And I think I am going to go with Harry Douglas.
HD.
Good call.
Harry Douglas is a friend. But I also loved what he did on the field.
Yeah,
and I think that Harry Douglas is one of those type of guys when you think about notable alums and you see him on TV or you see him out in the community. I mean, I think we all
always represents, doesn't he?
Yeah, he always, and I think the energy that he has, and I feel like he's a guy who sets a tone in a locker room that's fun, and I appreciate if I'm gonna have I know I just went wide receiver. We'll see what I do in the 2nd round, wide receiver. But I like the idea of Harry in the 3rd round, especially kind of looking at who was on the board. But what was interesting is the guys that y'all took in the 3rd round, I didn't have either of those guys on my board.
Interesting. Okay. Harry was 2nd on mine in the 3rd round. Yeah.
So Harry was actually... It's funny because I had Austin Hooper, Corey Peters, Harry Douglas. I even put Matt Schwab.
Matt Schwab.
Yeah. I always love calling him Matt Schwab.
Shabby had an unbelievable career.
Yeah, he was on my board
Atlanta twice, right? He started his career here, had a couple of starts.
I thought about it.
Do you remember his start against the New England Patriots in 2005?
Should have won the game. He played well enough to win the football game.
I was at that game.
Michael was down, and Matt played in that game. No question
we
about it.
got something here.
But yeah, I almost thought about it, but I was like, no, I'm gonna work under the assumption that I have a quarterback.
So that's the first round we've completed. Is the third round.
Yeah.
You took Thomas DeCou. I took Xavier Watts. We both stayed in the secondary. And Tori leaned into Harry Douglas, her 2nd wide receiver. So we can kind of divulge maybe our list of 3rd rounders, which I think you just did.
Yeah.
But some of the names we talked about, Matt Schaub. How about a guy like Jarius Norwood? Who was an outstanding player, especially on special teams.
Tevin Coleman.
Tevin Coleman, I had him.
Tevin Coleman, but think about the plays that we called Norwood on the radio strike up the band when he came in, because he had plays of 78, 67, 67, 92, 76. He just made big plays, whether it was in the kick return game, pass game, or run game. So it was fun to watch him play. But Harry Douglas, good pick.
All right, so I'm going again.
Yeah, one more.
Okay.
She's starting to get a hang of this, I think.
There we go.
I think I'm going to
Tori on the turn.
I think I'm going to go in the 4th round, and I think I'm going to do Devondre Campbell.
Good pick.
Yeah.
First team All-Pro in 2021. I thought that he was the guy in his peak, and I like the idea of. I know I've been kind of going almost like double dipping in certain position groups, but I think it's because of there is something to be said about the guys that were drafted when they were, and I mean, I'm never gonna say no to a first-team All-Pro getting him in the fourth round. So Devondre Campbell, you're my guy.
Yeah, played 128 games in the league, 60 of those with the Falcons, had almost 500 tackles, had 5.5 sacks, a guy that had interceptions through his career. 3 of those came in Atlanta. So played 4 of his 9 years here in Atlanta, but was a guy that, again, one of those guys that lined up for you each and every week. You didn't have to wonder if Devondre Campbell was going to be available.
Yeah.
And he was a big problem on the edge because he's that outside backer kind of. He could come after the pass. They didn't blitz him much, if you guys remember.
That was the vision, right? When he first got here, it was kind of like, oh, he could be this guy screaming off the edge. He actually, I think, became a better coverage linebacker.
I agree with you, and I think that his presence in the run game, because he was a bigger dude, he could set the edge in the run game. So yeah, good pick there.
Tight end eraser.
Yeah.
I mean, got to do what you got to do.
Are you done? You already done there?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
I love a good linebacker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I do.
I love a good line. Love a good bag of fries. I like a good linebacker.
Yeah, I'm trying to. You doubled up on receiver. You've doubled up on linebacker.
Yeah.
You've got a guard in there. All right, Arch.
Yeah, this is.
We're getting down our.
Yeah,
our
so
boards
I've got a first round pick, a 5th round pick, and a 7th round pick to go, and I'm kind of leaning into doubling up in a couple places like Tori did.
Yeah.
Wow, I've got like 5 guys in the 5th round that I really like. Grady's, of course, gone due to Will's pick. Looking at where am I at? First round. I mean, obviously there's been so many good guys, but I guess I probably need a quarterback, don't I?
Ooh, do you?
Probably need a quarterback. I'm going to go ahead and do the one that's near and dear to most people's hearts here in Atlanta. I'm going to take Michael Vick with the number 1 pick of the draft.
Yeah.
Knew he was coming off the board at some point.
College Football Hall of Famer, one of the all-time great rushing quarterbacks, which is near and dear to my heart because that was something that I could do a little bit of when I was playing, but over 6,000 yards rushing, he had 36 touchdowns, and his career threw for over 22,000 yards and 133 touchdowns. And the dude, he was a winner, okay? 61-51 and 1 as a starter. Matt Ryan was 124, 109 and 1. So the guys won and they had you in position. He had you in the NFC Championship game in 2004. Obviously, we know what happened here in Atlanta, and it didn't end the way we wanted it to, but he was the first quarterback in NFL history to rush for 1,000 yards. And so Michael brought that dual threat thing to it. And I think if he'd been able to kind of live out his career here, it would have been interesting. But because when he got under Andy Reid in Philadelphia, you could see some of the development things that he had learned probably here came to life.
That game against Washington in Philly was one of the greatest single nights of fantasy football in my life as somebody with Michael Vick on his fantasy team. He had like 6 touchdowns in that game.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
So I'll take Mike with my first round pick.
Mike is one of one, right?
Right.
No one like Mike. But I think that it honestly goes to, I've said this before and I say it again, Will and I did like a last summer, remember when we were like ranking like we did like a superior, I don't even know what it was called. Do you remember what I'm talking about, where we were ranking individuals?
Oh, like was it the S tier?
Yeah, the S tier, and we were going through and doing that with like positions, players, everything like that. And I remember making this argument that like with Michael Vick, it wasn't that. It was the bracket. We were doing the bracket of players. And we were getting to the end of it, and it was Michael Vick versus Matt Ryan.
Kind of like an NCAA tournament type thing.
Yeah, like March Madness. And the main thing about Michael Vick is that when you look at his body of work, it doesn't, like, I don't think it necessarily compares, you can't compare apples to oranges, Matt Ryan, Michael Vick, in terms of, the careers that they had. But with Michael, it was what he did for the game and how he moved the culture and how he changed the game from the way you look at it. And it was something really special. And I think that it was one of those things where you look back at that time, and I know Amazon Prime did the like documentary about kind of like how he changed the game for black quarterbacks in the league, and like that, I think that's just so impactful, and we'll always think of Mike Vick in the upper echelons of quarterbacks in all of the history of the NFL.
Yeah, and I think obviously there's the black quarterback thing certainly is something that has been atrocious and how that's been handled down through the years. And certainly there have been a lot of guys that were left on the table that were unbelievable players, but simply because of a narrow-mindedness didn't get that opportunity. Michael probably did some things with that. I played with a guy named Randall Cunningham that did a lot of that kind of stuff as well. And there were guys prior to that as well that did a phenomenal job. But what I think Michael did maybe even more than that, because of the people that had done it a little bit before him, was he changed the mindset of what your quarterback should be or can be.
Or could
because
do.
Because we were so boxed in that you're supposed to drop 7 steps, sit in the pocket, throw the football. And he changed the dynamic. Now you had to cover sideline to sideline because if he got out, he could go 70 for a touchdown because he's a 4.3 sprinter. But he had such a cannon for an arm. And I had a chance to watch him play throughout his career here. There was nobody that had a better motion in throwing the football than Michael Vick did.
It was so smooth.
Yeah, it was just – so he brought the dimension Tori's talking about, but I think he changed he kind of broke the box as to what a quarterback's supposed to be in this league. And now you see guys doing it all the time. The Cam Newtons of the world and all that stuff followed Michael Vick.
He's Steph Curry. Like that's how I think of him, is like all of these factors we're talking about, the intrinsic cool factor off the charts, the fact that like at any given moment you think you could see something spectacular that you've never seen before. And he not only kind of entered a situation where, like you said, the game was played in a specific way, and he didn't intentionally buck against that, but just by the nature of using his gifts in the singular way that only he could use them, changed the paradigm of the way that the sport was imagined, the way that it was played, and broke the mold and kind of created something new that we have now seen in the aftermath with guys like Lamar Jackson or Cam Newton, like all of these different players who really their running wasn't viewed as a liability. It was viewed as a huge asset to their
I don't
game.
think there's anything that encapsulates that more. And I know we need to move on here, but
it's Michael Vick, we can talk about him.
But one of Michael's signature plays, and he had many, was against the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota, where he drops to throw, and it's a 5-step drop pocket throw. He skates out of the pocket to the left, breaks 3 tackles, and runs 50 yards for a touchdown. And when he gets in the end zone, he just throws the ball in the stands and goes down the tunnel. And that was kind of it dropped the mic. Good, it was a drop the mic moment, no pun intended, Michael Vick moment, which kind of just said, okay, this is who this dude is, and he's different than anybody else is.
I always remember the one against Carolina in the Georgia Dome, the
Superman,
the Superman dive. It felt like you could hear a pin drop in the Georgia Dome as they were reviewing that play, and then it deafening.
Well, I don't know if you guys remember this, and I can get caught up in all the Michael Vick moments, but he had gotten injured in 2003. He had broken his leg in the preseason, and he missed the first, 13 games of the season, and he'd rehab and trying to get back. And they determined he's going to come back against Carolina. And in the Georgia Dome, they show on the Jumbotron, there's smoke. All of a sudden, they start playing music, and there's smoke on the Jumbotron. And you can't, what are they trying to get to? And all of a sudden you see the end of a football sticking out of the smoke. And all of a sudden the smoke starts to clear. And Michael's standing there and he says, "I'm back."
Ooh,
and you talked about loud stadiums. The roof blew off the Georgia Dome because Michael had pronounced, "I'm back," and he was back. I think he rushed for like 125 yards in that game. They won the game.
It's like a WWE wrestling
it's phenomenal.
Intro. That's phenomenal. Crazy.
It sends chills down my back thinking about it.
All right. Well, we spent a little bit of time on Michael Vick there, so
Sorry.
I will. Oh, hey. Time well spent. I don't think anybody was listening.
I got a chance to watch
that
dude call his game.
Right,
phenomenal.
All right. So I'm going to do my 2 here quicker. So let's see. I'm going to go in the 7th round because I'm looking at the 4th and 6th. You guys have already made your picks there, so I'm going to go ahead and take somebody before Dave has the chance to get him next. I'm going to go Jason Snelling, running back in the 7th round. He's another one, as you're mentioning, Jarius Norwood. I think Jaquiz Rogers in there. Like he was in that kind of era of running backs. Anton Smith, who was really good. So Jason Snelling was always a really reliable kind of dual player, fullback, running back, hybrid guy.
Yeah, so 41 special teams tackles in his career as well. So pretty good special teamer. Good call.
Cool. So that is Jason Snelling. Now I've got 4th and 6th rounds. Let's see. I am going to go 4th round. I'm going Drew Dahlman, and I'm going with Drew less for the kind of duration and totality of his career. He obviously retired this offseason, so congrats to Drew on his career, but really just being part of one of the better offensive line groups that Atlanta has had this century, and kind of defining the run game and being that fourth-round pick who became a starter quickly and really elevated the floor on that interior position for your offensive line. So,
good call.
Drew Dahlman, welcome.
All right, Drew Dahlman comes in. I'm going to stay in the offensive line. I'm going to go the 7th round, and I'm going to take Kevin Schaefer. 132 games as a pro. 51 of those are with the Falcons. He was here from 02 to 05, and he was part of that, like Tori's talk, there was some toughness attached to that offensive line that was in front of Michael Vick and Duckett and Dunn, and so Kevin Schaefer.
Was that Harvey Dahl and Tyson Claybo and those guys?
Yeah, that was a group of guys that just would rather tear your face off than look at you.
Blaylock. All right, Tori, over to you.
Okay, so I just have the 2nd and the 5th.
Yeah, your final
left.
2 picks.
I'll do the 2nd because the 2nd one's pretty easy because if Will wasn't going to take him, I'm going to take Algie Crumpler in the 2nd round.
Yeah, great pick.
I had the chance to meet him and interview him, and I think hearing him talk about, we've already kind of hit on him and who he was in the locker room, but also, 4-time Pro Bowler, one of the top tight ends of the early 2000s. He was Michael Vick's guy.
Yeah.
Like, I think we can talk about Michael Vick and we have, but I think that there's a level to even Michael Vick's game where he kind of said, like, that he could say, I got some of those stats because I was throwing to and using a guy like Algie Crumpler. And so he's somebody who I think is worthy of my 2nd overall pick.
It's also easy to overlook how big Algie Crumpler was. Yeah. Like, he was 6'2", 275. We talk about up in Pittsburgh, who was Washington. He went to Georgia, so I'm blanking on his first name. Apologize. But, like, when he had the ball in his hands and was running down the sideline, could you imagine being a 200-pound corner trying to chop down this cherry tree? Like, it was impossible.
I love it.
Okay, so with my final pick, and this is really difficult because the 5th round, surprisingly, was like I have a few options that I was like.
I hope you're taking the guy I'm thinking of.
Oh, I don't know if I am. I hope I am. I am going to take Ricardo Allen.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
good
call, Tori. Love Ricardo Allen.
Yeah,
Rico.
Ricardo Allen, I think that for what you got from him, and I hated how his career kind of ended and the injuries and everything like that. Like, I loved watching him play. You talk about a safety who provided you so much, whether it be leadership, whether it be playmaking ability, whether it be just being a leader on the defense and being in the backfield. Like, I think he was one of those guys that you never really had to worry about.
No.
Yep.
Just like
exactly
the
right.
consistency of which he brought every day. I felt like you always hear people talk about like Matt Ryan being a pro's pro. I always felt similarly with Ricardo Allen.
Yeah, 77 of his 91 career games were with the Falcons. He had 11 career interceptions, all of those with the Falcons. And he, when I spoke to Ricardo, I loved talking to Ricardo during the week because it was like going and sitting in the coach's office.
Yes. Yep.
And there was, in my 22 years of calling Falcon games, there's never been a guy, in my opinion, that has directed traffic on defense pre-snap more than Ricardo. Ricardo would run from the free safety spot down to a linebacker and slap him on the rear end to get him to move over because he knew exactly what was going on as far as their calls, but he read what was going on from a formation standpoint, and he had a pretty good idea where the ball was going to go.
Yep.
Ricardo, great pick. Ricardo Allen. Loved Ricardo Allen.
Thank you.
All right, my last pick is in the 5th round. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
And that's my guy. That was my guy, Ricardo Allen. So
Sorry.
That's
Sorry
okay.
about it.
That's okay. I'm gonna try to keep the whole thunder and lightning thing together in my backfield. So I got Devontae Freeman. I'm gonna take Tyler Algier. I know we're all shedding a little bit of a tear.
I know,
Tyler
this is sad.
The bowling ball of razor blades will be on my team forever. Such a great guy and a tremendous complimentary piece. People forget his rookie year, 210 carries for over 1,000 yards and 3 touchdowns as a rookie. Broke the rookie rushing record here for the Falcons. So pretty cool.
I love Tyler Algier, and I think it was even Bijan Robinson when he was talking, and he's like, yeah, I talked to him the other day, and it's just, we were sad. Like, he was just like, I'm just sad. Yeah. And I think that's how everyone collectively feels, is like, you want someone like Tyler Algier to go and get his bag. You want him to get, because I think that
he deserves it.
He deserves it. He deserves to be the number one option somewhere. Like, he deserves to get that money, and you wish him nothing but the best, but simultaneously you're like, dang it.
Yeah.
Just so sad.
Yeah, and there's a lot of DBs that are saying, damn, I got to tackle him now?
Yeah, I think it's very fitting that he's on your team, Dave, just for the bowling ball of razor blades alone.
Yeah.
Like, that is going to be like your team name.
Yeah.
So I love that.
I'm intrigued now who you're going to go with in the 6th round, because this was really thin pickings in the 6th round.
So am I going to add the first special team?
I think
you should. You have to.
I don't know. It's either that or somebody Tori's already mentioned.
I did, yeah.
Sure, I'll go with Matt Bosher.
Yeah.
I'll go with Matt Bosher. Really, just for that hit in Carolina alone on Varner.
Drop the hammer.
Inspired one of my better tweets that I don't think I can read or say here on air. But yeah, I mean, Matt Bosher, like, anytime, it's not often that teams will draft a specialist, a true specialist, but when you do, like that. Pretty lofty expectations that come with that. Yeah. And what Matt Bosher was able to do as a punter and kind of kickoff specialist there for a little while was really important, I think.
Yeah, Bosch averaged right at 46 yards a kick, net over 40 yards a kick net. That if your net is above 40, you get in that 40, 41, 42 range, net means after tackle, obviously, you're doing a pretty good job. And he did a heck of a job. 190 kicks he knocked out inside the 20-yard lines. Only 24 of his, let me find the right number here for you. Only 24 of his, I'm looking at the wrong spot, 489 punts in his career, only 24 were touchbacks.
That's crazy.
Is that unbelievable when you think about the kicking from the midfield and all that kind of stuff, knocking it out? Knocked it out 190 times inside the 20-yard line. Good pick, Bosch. Bosch is a good dude, too.
Yeah.
Kickers kind of can get weird on you, but he was pretty good dude.
They can be weirdos, but Matt Bosher was, he's from the U, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. Awesome. Well, that was really fun. Do we want to quickly each go through and just read off our draft boards? Tori, you want to start?
Yeah, I can start. Julio Jones, Algie Crumpler, Harry Douglas, Devondre Campbell, Ricardo Allen, Foye Oluokun, and Keenan Forney.
That's a good board.
That is a tough group to beat.
That's a good
there.
lineup.
My group is Michael Vick, Deion Jones, Xavier Watts, and a little bit of a surprise. Devontae Freeman and Tyler Algier are thunder and lightning in the backfield, and then Russell Gage and my guy Kevin Schaefer, 7th-round pick.
Love it. All right. In the first round, I got Matty Ice, then Jonathan Babineau, Thomas Deku, Drew Dahlman, Grady Jarrett, Matt Bosher, and Jason Snelling. How are we feeling?
If we combined our three,
we'd have a pretty good team, right?
Yeah.
I think our picks are all warranted and pretty solid.
Yeah.
If you combine those guys, think about all those guys, and a lot of those guys played with one another.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool too through the years. But hope you guys enjoyed that at home.
Yeah. Any final thoughts before we kind of close it? Who do we think in this room, the three of us? We'll toss it to the fans. We'll see what they think. But are we leaning any one way? Anybody have a clear winner that they think? You can't pick your own, obviously.
No, I would as much as you're top heavy with Matt Ryan, and that's hard to pick against the best player that's ever played in the franchise's history.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm banking on.
Tori, I really like Tori's group. Tori's group is a good one.
I think
talk about some pass catchers now.
Yeah.
Jones, Crumpler, and Douglas. I mean, those guys will go get the rock for you.
In my brain, I already had a quarterback. Like, in my brain, I was like, I'm building around the quarterback.
Well, you could play cube with those three guys. I could play quarterback with those three guys. I mean,
right now, put us on the field right now, and we could go get it. I'm really happy. I mean, the competitive part of me, I'm really happy with what I put up there.
I'm evidently running the rock, and you're evidently throwing.
Apparently, yeah. I mean, different eras. Different eras.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much again for joining for this exercise. I hope we have many different iterations of drafts to come. But before we get to those in the distant future, we've got a pretty big draft again coming up next week. So as a reminder, here's what we've got coming down the pipe for you guys. We've got Monday, Falcons Audible. They're going to be chatting about the draft and their expectations. Then we'll have our final predictions. Again, you'll hear from all of our kind of on-air talent about who we think the Falcons will take at pick 48. And then each night of the draft, we will be coming to you all to break down what happened and our thoughts for how that will affect the next day. And that should be hitting your feeds as soon as Jared can cut it and get it up. So,
well, yeah, and jump on the website now because we've got breakdowns of players. You guys are doing breakdowns.
Yeah, the blind mock draft that you guys just did.
Blind mock draft that Tori and I did. Tori did a great job of giving me some selections there. Also got our breakdowns of some of the players that I think might affect the Falcons in the draft. I know the wide receiver one is already dropped. We got some other ones that are coming up on the defensive side of the football, so enjoy that. So there's just a ton of stuff. These guys are so good at what they do. So check out AtlantaFalcons.com. They're going to keep you up to breast and up to date and fully dialed in on what's going on both now before draft and when the draft drops. These guys will be all over it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, Arch. Cool. Well, for Dave Archer, Tori McElhaney, I'm Will McFadden. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the Falcons 21st Century Draft Picks Draft.
Woo!
Those guys are some dudes we drafted,
pretty
Some
good.
dudes.